Toronto Raptors lose their fifth straight against the Detroit Pistons, who are playoff bound. Despite the Raptors scoring 40 points off of the bench, let's go to the film room. Jamal Shead had an excellent game off of the bench for the Toronto Raptors, and I thought it started because of his passing and connective playmaking. He was responsible for Chris Boucher's first basket, just really, making the pass to the three-point shooter, and Chris has been on fire as of late, so making that is the right pass. Hey, I'm just going to pass it to the guy who's been playing well. He did a good job tonight of setting the table off of the bench. He had 5 assists, this one to Bruce Brown for the corner 3, and I thought in that second quarter, he got Grady Dick going as well with the three-point shot. See, nice connective pass here with the drive and kick, grabbing the defense's attention before kicking it out to Grady. Does a great job here in transition, stealing the ball off of Cade, and then pushes, realizes Grady is the trailer, dishes it out to him and makes it. And so these aren't like progressive reads. These aren't incredible reads by any means, but at the same time, they're just the right play. And that can be enough when you're talking about a bench guard. See here, he does a great job of filling the lane in transition. Defense has to get out. Finds Grady again with the connective pass. And so I thought the playmaking really got him going, but it also got the bench going. And that's what sparked their run in the second quarter, where the Raptors were playing some really, really good basketball. And while he needs to be more aggressive offensively, he only took 3 shots tonight. He made all of them. And when that happens, obviously you're going to have a positive night. He's made 5 of his last 6 threes, makes this corner 3 here tonight. In the pick and roll, settles into this mid-range jump shot, and then, attacks the closeout here, just bully ball drive all the way to the basket and one. And so I thought Jamal was pretty good tonight, man. I thought, for what it's worth, the last recap I did, I was talking about I don't understand why Davion Mitchell isn't getting minutes, and then Darko Rajakovic said post-game that they believe Jamal Shead is the future and that they want to give Jamal as much opportunity as possible in order to stretch his legs. And so personally, I thought Jamal was probably further behind than maybe he's shown over the last couple games. Played well against the Knicks, played well tonight, or played well against the Cavs, I believe, and then played well tonight. I think in general, I still think giving him G League opportunities will help him, really expand his game, especially offensively as a scorer. That being said, he's been playing well. And so I'm not afraid to be like, you know what, man, coaching staff knows much more than I do when it comes to hoops. And I'm totally fine with that being the case here. Jamal has been awesome over the last couple of games. And I think part of it is just being potentially carefree, and in a good way, right? You want the guy to take care of the basketball, not be a turnover-prone player, and he isn't that. But I also think he's playing with more of a leash. So understanding that he can make mistakes, he's able to, kind of flow within the offense to be able to initiate things. And I think it's provided him with a little level of confidence so that he's able to just go out there and be who he is. Ultimately, these reps are important for a guy like Jamal Shead, who, like the Raptors said, like Darko Rajakovic said, is a part of their future. I still think Davion Mitchell should play. I mean, Davion is a good defender. Maybe there's just not enough minutes in the rotation. Truthfully, there isn't, because, when you get Jacoby Walter playing 3 minutes and Ochai Agbaji didn't even play in this game despite him being healthy, there's not a lot of guard minutes out there for the Raptors to give out, So it's a tough situation for Davion. Want to focus on Jamal, though, who I think has been really, really good over the last couple of games. And in general, their bench has been good. Like, Bruce Brown had 14 tonight, had a couple steals, had a couple of moments. He had that bully ball drive in the fourth quarter to help them, I believe, tie it up or cut the lead to 2. So he's been good, I think, in spurts here. Chris Boucher, obviously, has been incredible. And Chris is like this ball of energy that comes in, and it's either you're going to get the best of the best of the best from him, or sometimes that sporadic energy can lead to, turnovers and missed shots and bad defensive plays and whatnot. We've seen the good and the bad with Chris over his tenure as a Raptor. But when he's like this, when he's hitting his shots, when he's, attacking the offensive glass, when he's able to be this secondary weak side rim protector for you, he's awesome off of the bench. Really, really fun player. And so you're getting that right now over the last couple of games. Just the energy that he provides is giving a spark for this second unit. We know, if you've been a Raptors fan long enough, you know who Chris Boucher is and what he can provide on the floor and some of the drawbacks of what Chris can do as well. That being said, Chris has been awesome, absolutely awesome in the last couple of games. And so that's also fueled this like blossoming bench mob that the Raptors have. And I actually think Jamal Shead's part in this as a playmaker, as a guy who can take care of the ball. I think that's one of the biggest contrasts between him and Davion Mitchell, is that Jamal does a really, really good job of making the easy play. And he's not turnover prone like Davion Mitchell. So those easy opportunities, like I mentioned with the connective passing, just passing the ball to Chris Boucher, making the read to Grady Dick, connective driving kick scenarios that open up threes, all of those were things that Davion Mitchell truthfully left off the table there because he was, maybe an ill-advised pass, maybe not making that read quick enough, et cetera, et cetera. Jamal is so experienced as a 4-year college guard that he just knows how to make these plays a lot easier, truthfully. And so I'm excited to see. I'm still kind of wary. I want to see him grow his game offensively more. I think that's a huge part of the equation for Jamal. But I'm excited to see him get more opportunity over the next couple of weeks and over the rest of the season. Because truthfully, the Raptors are in a position where they should be giving their guys more opportunity. And this is why I wanted to mention this specific part of the bench mob. If there is opportunity, and I understand they are showcasing Chris Boucher because of eventual trades, they are showcasing Kelly Olynyk as part of maybe eventual trades, but like a guy like Jonathan Mobo, post-trade deadline, has to be in that bench unit. Has to. It is a must. I think he is the backup center for the next little bit here, and him and Jamal Shead and Jacoby Walter, and, realistically, Ochai Agbaji as well. That unit is so intriguing to me as a second unit moving forward. Look, we're an 8-31 team. The Raptors are 8-31. They're struggling. We understand. But these are the type of things that you have to kind of look forward to say, hey, maybe there will be a developmental win there. And so that is the bench mob sort of developing here. I can see it permeating and kind of manifesting in itself, right? The development of a identity for your bench, because that's what it was for the early iterations of the bench mob. It's like these tough, defensive-minded guys who can make plays. They play as a team. They play winning basketball. And to be honest, in tonight's game, the bench uplifted the starters. I don't think the starters played as well as the bench did. They did have some good stretches there, and that's why we got a pretty close game. That's why it was competitive against a really good Pistons team. This is not your last year Detroit Pistons team. Cade Cunningham has taken a leap. He's turning into an all-star. They have a cast around him of shooters and scorers that can do well, and they've been very, very well coached defensively by JB Bickerstaff. So this is a good Pistons team. It's good enough, especially comparatively to this Toronto Raptors team. And I think the starters did not execute in the fourth quarter enough, and I think part of that was the defense. So let's go to the film room for the defensive breakdowns in the fourth quarter. The Pistons just kept going at RJ Barrett tonight, and I think a lot of that was Cade Cunningham, using him. I don't know why he's going under on Cade screens. Look, Cade is shooting well this season. And you don't want to be going under on these in this situation. One-on-one against Tobias Harris. Too much ball pressure, 32 feet out. And Tobias just blows by him, gets a step, and then the up and under. And I think part of that, by the way, is like the defensive scheme of the Raptors. They are putting way too much pressure on the ball when it's not necessary. And so it's creating blow-bys. And then guys have to help, and then that help creates wide open threes, and it's just this snowball effect that's been happening to the Raptors over this last stretch of basketball. Their on-ball defense hasn't been good enough, and so it creates driving lanes, and then that creates threes. But RJ really struggled with that tonight too. You see here, they get RJ on a switch again, Cade going one-on-one, and just, bump, finish over him, and that's just too easy. That is just too easy. RJ Barrett should be doing much better to try and guard his space and be able to contain a drive by Cade Cunningham. And there were a couple of miscues from Grady, which I thought really impacted the game in that fourth quarter too. I think he's just overthinking it at this point, because this attacking the closeout and then drive would have either been a floater or a pull-up jumper in November. And so I'm not sure why it's gotten to the point where he's bobbling the ball. This is curious to me, to be honest with you. It might be legs, it might be injuries, it might be something else. But in November, that was a pull-up jumper shot in confidence. And then on the other end, they put 2 on the ball. Cade just passes it out. And then the Raptors are in rotation. Grady misses the rotation to Jalen Duren because Jakob goes and helps. And then it's a wide open dunk for Jalen Duren. So a couple of mistakes here for RJ and Grady. And I know a lot of the conversation about that starting lineup is like they are not good enough defensively to execute. It's a lot of burden on Jakob Poeltl. It's a lot of burden. It's a heavy burden on Scotty Barnes. And you know what? It is. It really is a heavy burden for those guys because I think Grady is a guy who is working through the process of like, how am I supposed to be the best player I can possibly be throughout 82 games? I think he has hit a bit of a wall here on both ends of the floor because he was really, really good to start this season. And I believe that version of Grady is closer to the version that we will eventually get than the version that we've been seeing lately where he's not finishing at the basket well. He's not looking confident offensively. There are moments like, he had that second quarter where he just had a barrage of threes and he was set up by Jamal Shead, and you see the flow there working for him, especially off of the catch. By the way, this is another thing. Like, as the Raptors get healthier, there should be easier shots for Grady Dick, and I don't think he's gotten those easy shots as of yet because the Raptors starting group has not looked as fluid offensively. They still feel a little disconjointed when trying to create offense for one another. And so it's not creating the easy opportunities and easy looks for Grady that we would have hoped from a starting lineup that probably has him as the 4th or 5th option on any given night. So it's a multitude. It's like a massive, kind of part of few different problems that are happening with the Raptors. The defensive miscues are happening because of the fact that they play tons of ball pressure. And because of the fact that they play tons of ball pressure, and Grady isn't that type of defender, he's getting cooked on that end. And it's causing tons of miscues on the back end of those rotations that just boil down into an easy opportunity for the offense. And so that's why Grady is struggling, in my opinion. I think it's compounded with the fact that RJ is going through something similar where on defense, a lot of the miscues, a lot of the opportunity, and for what it's worth, he is being tasked with guarding some really tough players like the wings and whatnot. That being said, it's causing a lot of miscues and teams are going out there and hunting him. And the same thing applies to Grady. And so the Raptors have to just figure out how they're going to be able to do that because I don't think their scheme as it currently is constructed makes sense with their personnel, given Emmanuel Quickley, given Grady Dick, given RJ Barrett, and their skill sets defensively, to put it nicely. Because I think Scotty and Jakob are really, really good backline defenders. If you were to play a more conservative defensive style, like playing drop or not necessarily digging in and pinching in on all of these drives. They did a lot of that against Cade Cunningham. I think you'll find more success defensively by being a little bit more conservative, not as much ball pressure, picking and choosing your spots to be aggressive. I think a lot of that is a learning curve, both for the Raptors and maybe, depending on what the coaching staff really wants this team to do. So I think part of their breakdown in the fourth quarter was the fact that RJ and Grady struggled defensively. Those two also, I think RJ struggled immensely offensively. Grady was, a little bit better, 4 of 11, had 13 points, had his moments, especially in that second quarter, but generally struggled offensively, especially in that fourth quarter. Emmanuel Quickley had some good moments, but I thought he forced it a little bit in that fourth quarter too. And so it feels like the starting lineup, their offense is a little disconjointed. And because they don't have the talent necessarily on the defensive end other than Scotty and Jakob, it's not working right now. I'm not saying they need to change anything. I'm not saying they need to go out and start an Ochai Agbaji over Grady Dick or RJ Barrett tomorrow. I think they should work through the kinks of this lineup because ultimately you need to figure out how you can make these guys work on the floor, especially the 4-man of Jakob, Scotty, RJ, and IQ. And I think part of that is on the players themselves figuring out how to make things work offensively, how to pick their spots, how they can maximize each other. And then the other side is figuring out from the coaching staff perspective, okay, how are we going to make this lineup succeed defensively? Because right now, I don't think they're being put in a very good position to succeed on that end. And so the Raptors got beat by the Pistons in the fourth quarter because of a lack of execution, because they messed up defensively, because in the fourth quarter, they bricked a ton of free throws. And in the end, it came down to a few possessions here and there, and the better team won. The Pistons are a better team this season. They're now 20-19. They're one game above 500. Again, I mentioned, how good they've become and why they've become that good. The Raptors, they are still working through the process of how they want to try to win games. And this, look, they've lost 16 of their last 17 games. They're now tied for the second worst record in the NBA. They've lost 5 in a row now. This was not a bad game. This was a good game. They played really well. There was execution. For a team that has lost 16 of their last 17 and 5 in a row, this was a good game. Even the game against Cleveland, very, very good game. They just got out-talented by the Cavs. This one, I don't think they got out-talented. I think they got out-executed. I think they got just the Pistons knew exactly what they wanted to get to. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they did that to the Toronto Raptors. I think the Raptors will start to play better basketball. Might be a hot take, but I do think there is the machinations there of a team that is going to start playing some better basketball and potentially start winning. Not winning on the level of like they're going to go for the play-in or anything like that, but get some wins under your belt, feel good about the process, feel good about the execution, because that's where the Raptors are at right now, winning developmentally and also hoping that translates into wins. I think everybody, it's like everybody's looking to blame the coach or blame some of the players or blame, maybe like a bad defensive miscue and blame. It's really hard to play the blame game on a team that has been brutally injured to start this season, is now finally healthy, and is now working through the flow of like what they're supposed to look like on any given night. And so it's hard to fully assess like what it is we have. If this was game 35 or game 40 of a fully healthy Raptors team with that starting lineup and they were 8-31, I would be saying there's more cause for concern. And for what it's worth, if we get, 10, 15 games from now and that starting lineup hasn't really clicked, yes, that's a cause for concern. That lineup needs to win minutes. That lineup needs to be good because the Raptors are banking on that lineup to take them through this rebuild. And yes, there will be talent added. There will be lottery picks and potentially a high draft pick this year added to that lineup eventually. But they need that group to work well and work well together. And so they're hoping that the depth can fill them and uplift them eventually. But right now it's the depth that's actually compensating for the starters not executing. So I want to give them a little bit of grace to figure out how those starters are going to play together well. Before this game, in a very small sample, I think it was 43 minutes, I tweeted this, but the starters are -10. They have a -10 net rating in those 43 minutes together. Not good. That's not good. And so you want that number to improve as they start to play more minutes, as they start to figure things out offensively. And I really do think it's about the offense because it's looked disconjointed very, very much, very not together. And I think that's just, it's going to take time, folks. And the Raptors haven't had a lot of time to figure it out. Anyways, new setup, by the way, in case you haven't realized in this whole video, I've moved. I've moved, and it's been a long and enduring process. God, my life been a crazy month, but that's another story for another day. But yes, I've moved. So if you guys like the setup, holla at your boy. There's going to be some stuff here later down the road. Working on that right now, but let me know what you guys like. Let me know if you guys fuck with the new setup. Let me know. Okay. Anyways, subscribe. Do the things you guys usually do. Like, comment, all that type of stuff. I'll see you guys later. Peace.